All right. So my name is Abby. I'm the graduate assistant at the African Studies Center. And welcome to our very last African Tea Time this semester. So today we'll be delving into youth empowerment and economic advancement in Africa. And today we have two speakers. We have Hadjer, who's here from Algeria. And we also have Ari, who'll be joining us in a few. We just sent him a link. He should be joining us very soon. So just to give a brief introduction, and the speakers will also have a chance to introduce themselves. So Hadjer, feel free to introduce yourself when you start your presentation. So Hadjer, she prides herself as somebody who has a passion for the youth, right? And she's a senior employment specialist. So a little bit about her, and as I said, she's going to talk more about herself. So she's a senior employment specialist at World Learning Algeria. She has trained over 300 people in 21st century skills, and maybe she'll elaborate what she means by 21st century skills. And some of her specializations are in climate change, sustainable development, entrepreneurship, just to mention a few. All right. And in her abstract, if you took time to read it, she says that young people are the driving force behind innovation and change. So we will be delving into that talk by Hadjer, and then next we will be joined later by Ari. Ari is from Cameroon. He is an internet entrepreneur, a journalist, and an author. He's worked his way up to being the top 100 worldwide in the British Council. And, among other things, he has a podcast, which he's going to tell us about when he joins in. So I'm going to delve into, the way we're going to conduct this, I'm going to have both speakers give their presentations. The audience can jump in anytime. You can just, raise your hand or just say, excuse me. Feel free to interrupt as much as you like. And then we'll have a question and answer for our speakers, because we've seen youth empowerment across the country. So what is not working really, right? So we're going to be delving into that as well. So I'm going to welcome our first speaker, she's joining us in person. So feel free to join us in person if you're around campus. Yeah, we have pizza, just so you know. So our first speaker will be Hadjer, and then we will have Ari come in second. All right. So Hadjer, you can join us up here. So she's just going to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about the work that she does, and then we're going to delve into youth empowerment and economic advancement in Africa. All right, Hadjer,
Yes.
go ahead.
Can you show the presentation? Open.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Sorry. Thank you. So you can close the chat box. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Can you see the presentation? Yes. Good. Thank you, Abigail, for the introduction. So today I'll be talking about youth empowerment and impact on economic advancement in Africa. And before introducing myself and before talking about what I do, I want to share some numbers. So Africa actually has the youngest population globally, and with the median age around 15 years old. So the youngest median age around the world is in Niger with 15.2 years old. And you can see that all the top 10 countries are in Central Africa. So the youngest median age is in Niger compared to Europe, where the median age is around 60 years old. So 60% of the African population is youth under the age 25. Unfortunately, when we talk about economic development, we need to talk about unemployment rate. So in youth, for youth unemployment rate for the continent as a whole is 12.7%, and it varies. It goes up until 61% in some countries like South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya. For in terms of genders, females or women has the highest unemployment rate compared to men in Africa, of course, because of cultural and socioeconomic factors. Another important factor we need, to talk about is the need, not in education, employment, or training. The rate is 33% of youth between the age of 15 and 29 are not in education, employment, and training. I chose some countries just to give you an idea about the four regions in the continent. For North Africa, for example, Morocco, 38% of women are not in education, employment, and training, compared to 13.6% of men. In Ethiopia, the gap is huge. 68% are women, and compared to 9.8 men. For South Africa, because the unemployment rate is high, so both numbers are high, but the women rate still importantly high compared to the male rate. So 56 compared to 47. In West Africa, I couldn't find a study about male, but for female, the rate is almost 20%. So 20% women are not in education, employment, and training. Okay. So for the definition of youth, according to the African Union, they are individuals between the age of 15 and 35. So if you are not between this range, you are not considered youth in Africa. And compared to other international definitions, this is the largest definition for range for youth. So I want to highlight some important factors that are going in Africa, like the conflicts in sub-Saharan Africa. You can see this is the map of Central Africa, where the conflicts are political or civil wars or conflicts in general, starting from 21 in green and starting from 22 in purple. It's an important factor that we need to consider in economic advancement or development. Another important insight is the population projection by World Bank. They are projecting that Africa will, in 100 years, will be the highest population in terms of number, of course, and it will hit and maybe like 50 years later will be the first globally, like more than Asia. So to introduce myself, I am Hadjer Neggaz from Algeria. I'm an architect and urban planner with a focus on sustainable development and climate change. I'm a social activist where I volunteered with various nonprofit organizations around the country. I founded a nonprofit called Sustainable Youth Development and served as vice president for 3 years. I'm trainer and trainers of trainers, where I develop curricula related to professional development, youth empowerment in general. I trained, like Abigail said, more than 350 trainers, and I will share what does it mean 21st century skills. And these trainers, in the last 3 years, they trained more than 19,000 participants around Algeria. So I have a political interest. I was trained in political dialogue and advocacy. I'm passionate about peacemaking and promoting for youth to involve themselves in policy making. I'm an artist and traveler. I've been last year I did my second art exhibition. I love traveling around Africa and around the world just to discover and explore other cultures. So let me start with this question: why youth empowerment matters? So for me, the youth empowerment is really related to youth in general, the first thing, because they are the key in the future economic landscape. So gaining the skills, the resources, and tools will lead to innovation, entrepreneurship, and job in general, and of course, eventually economic growth. So we need to talk about the challenges that are facing the African youth. So first, the education and skill gaps. There is a lack of quality in education, unfortunately, and the gap between education and job market is really huge. The second one, like we said, the youth unemployment is very high compared to other continents. And like we said, in some countries, it goes up to 61%. The gender inequality, we saw that the youth between 15 and 29 years old in not education, employment, and training is very, very a huge difference between the females and males. So for today, I chose my organization, the organization I work with, to talk about and how we are empowering youth. So let me introduce you Word Learning. So Word Learning Inc. is a nonprofit international organization. It's a group of other organizations. It was founded in 1932 with the first nonprofit organization called The Experiment. Then they expanded to other organizations, depends on the field and area of expertise. So the experiment was more for exchange between US students and international students. SIT, School of International Training for TESOL mostly, and other like teaching English for language for other countries. Then the NGO Word Learning. It was founded in 1970. SIT has expanded other areas and countries. And for Word Learning Algeria, legally it was founded in 2012. So our organization has, like I said, 3 branches, but it has one mission, is to work globally to enhance the capacity and commitment of individuals, institutions, and communities to create a more sustainable, peaceful, and just world. So we have, we are trying to be inclusive as we can. Our approach is DEIA, so diversity, equity, inclusivity, and accessibility for all. In numbers, we are operating in 60 countries worldwide. Our participants are from 162 countries. Our staff worldwide is more than 1,242, me inclusively. Our office, the headquarters, is in DC. Our annual revenue is more than 130 millions. So the nonprofit organization is comprised of 2 units: global programs and institutional advancement and learning unit. For global programs, we have 2: global exchange and global development, everything related to participant training, youth exchange, entrepreneurship, civic engagement, and English language teaching. For the other unit, institutional advancement and learning unit, is more about research, about approaches and models like the MERL, monitoring, evaluation, research and learning, and business development unit. So let me talk, for today talk, I wanted to focus on the NGO, Word Learning, the non-governmental organization. So our 4 values are community, intercultural understanding, social inclusivity and justice, and sustainability. Our program are implemented to improve, expand, encourage, help, cultivate, and create around the world. So our reach is mostly everywhere. We trained more than 75,000 participants around the world. We strengthened 134 institutions. And since 2012, we have 75 million in funds. So our programs are mostly in technical trainings. Our assistance, is mostly technical assistance, curriculum development, teacher and administrator support, instructor coaching, and languages. So for the programs we do, usually we do people-to-people exchange, social emotional learning, global education, capacity strengthening, youth workforce and entrepreneurship, civic engagement, TESOL, and refugee resettlement. Our approach has incorporates 5 key elements: experiential learning, the monitoring, evaluation, research and learning, leadership development, innovation, and grant management. So for Africa, Word Learning has worked in several countries in Algeria, in Africa, but where I work as a senior employment specialist, I'll show you some project we did implement as youth empowerment program. So Word Learning, the NGO has 3 different areas: education, development, and exchange. For the education, I forgot to tell you, in 2 years ago, we celebrated the 10 years of impact. So for education, mostly 12 years now, we've been working on projects related to STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, mathematics program, where 6,895 youth benefited from in-person training in STEM. We trained 421 teachers in UDL, Universal Design Learning, and our kids from the STEM teams won for the last 10 years 9 global competitions, participating in international competitions in STEM. So for the English part, for the English language, we had created TESOL Zaire. It means TESOL for Algeria, where 2 years ago we organized the first international conference for ESL, where we had plus 500 participants. The teachers were amazing. We had 17 English teachers in Algeria. They volunteered to create 4 subcommittees. They organized several webinars before the international conference. They created an online platform, esldz.org, where actually the second international conference will be soon in December. For the development project, which is our area of our topic of presentation for today. So I'm sharing just few examples that are relevant to the topic. So we had a project called Peace. It was really the first project implemented by MEPI. MEPI means Middle East Partnership Initiatives. It's a MENA fund. But since Algeria is North Africa, so we had benefited from this fund. So this program was for disabled youth, for university students, and targeting careers development centers in universities, civil society organizations, and we had more than 6,000 participants in 5 regions. In terms of improvement, 67% of these participants found a full or part-time job. 629 found internship. Another program called Maharat and Bosala, which means Maharat means skills, Bosala means campus. So it was a U.S. Embassy in Algiers funded project for empowering young women to plan their career. So 80% of them, of the participants, found job opportunities in the first project, and 98% in the second project. It was a mentorship of 8 weeks, where they learn how to write a CV, do a job research, and anything related to career planning. So another project about the entrepreneurship this time, Algeria Entrepreneurship and Employment Project. That was a huge project for us because it was the year of COVID. So we had to do the mentorship online where we trained 368. That was one of the lowest numbers usually we do in our trainings. So for this project, we targeted the SME enterprises incubation programs, proposing, of course, them incubation program. We targeted also youth-led startups to help them launch their businesses. And because it was COVID, we had to do a virtual career fair that I'll talk after. More in details about it. Another development project is the Youth Empowerment Project, or just we call it YEP. It was also US Embassy and MEPI funded project. That was more about soft skills and career counseling trainings, civic engagement trainings, community services activities, vocational trainings. We had to, because the project was 3 years, so we organized 2 youth employment summits. The first one was international, and the second one, it was more regional. We trained more than 8,000 job seekers, and we did a research in a job search and job matching, sorry. So in this program, we had 9,000 employed across Algeria in 10 regions and more than 5,000 beneficiaries in 10 regions. Voilà. So this, in terms of effectiveness for the employment rate, this one it was 79%. I just want to let you know that for our youth benefiting from these programs, usually we start with people like we do pre-assessment and post-assessment to measure their skills before taking the training and after taking the training, and we match. So usually the target we have is around 50 to 60%. So when we do 79%, for us is a huge improvement skill. So for this one, it was for the employment skill. Another project which called Be Create, building community resilience, employment, and active through education. So for this one, it was a US Embassy funded in Algiers funded a program. They wanted to target regions close to conflicted countries. So in Algeria, we are limited by Libya, Niger, and Mali, and from this side, Western Sahara and Morocco. So most of these has really conflicted issues. So the US Embassy wanted to target this area. So we ended by 6 regions and creating 6 community connection centers where we trained 4,005 participants. That was really hard to find, with an improvement of 78%. This number was very low in the pre-assessment. It was nearly 40%. Yes, because the regions are really marginalized. Another project, Andi Hulum, it means I have a dream. This is the second season. The first season, I'll talk after in details about it. But for the second season, we supported 6 entrepreneurs, finalists from the first one, where the training for them was more targeted because they had already their business models. So we did skill trainings in business and entrepreneurship and more specialized mentorship for some entrepreneurs who needed legal mentorship, others needed financial or administrative mentorship. So each one of them got a grant of 4,000 to launch their businesses, and all of the 6 at the end of project finalized their legal status and business plan to receive this fund. For the exchange program, I just put two. If you are interested, I have the report, and you can screenshot it after, or for here, you can check it here in person for other programs. So for the exchange program, there is the first global challenge. It's a big STEAM international competition where we send usually kids, they are children between 12 to 15 years old to participate in international competition. And this picture was in Dubai, where they won an award of innovation. The second one is the opposite, where we receive other countries in Algeria, some programs like the experiment, digital PFP and contact. So speaking about economic impact and how World Learned is trying to create this impact, I want to get in details of some development project. I chose this one. So this one is the one I told you in COVID. So this one was really hard for us to transition from in-person training to online training, but at the end we had to do it and create a fair, a virtual fair, where we got 5,638 visiting from job seekers. The website or the platform registered more than 100,000 registration, 70 interviews held during the event. It was 2 days, 8 hours, then 8 hours, 53 firm employment offers before the close, like during the event, and 94% they took these interviews after and doing it in person. So 778 employment and training opportunities were held in this 2 days. In terms of job opportunities breakdown, the highest number was more about logistics and administration, I think. I'm sorry, I can't read. And the second one is it was more about sales and marketing. So it was a good impact because economic, like during COVID, everything was shut down. So to just get some offers and some youth engaging in this virtual fair, that was the first time in Algeria, to be honest. It was really interesting to see people jumping from a room to a room just to see how to attend webinars, to talk to entrepreneurs or to firms, to businesses, doing their interviews live. It was a really good experience. Another one, which is Andi Hulum, I have a dream. So for this one, the first season was a TV show. I can't. Oh, thank you. So the first one was a TV show where they contacted 60 youth. They gave them a series of challenges, and at the end they had to win a check of, I think, 2,000 or 20,000. I don't know the difference, like to convert, but I think 2,000, because 100 million in dinar, Algerian dinar. So, and then we took 6 finalists. For us, the finalist was not the winner. It was the people who developed their business plan or their business model. So we took the 6 of them, we trained them, like I shared before, in specific skills, and then we did a follow-up study to check on them. So the first picture on the top, it's one of the entrepreneurs who won a national competition in entrepreneurship. The second one, she's a girl, she's passionate about essential oils and all the DIY herbs and oils. So she started her business and she bought the machines and launched it and did the branding, and she sold some product. The last one, actually, I had his his product. He manufactured the peanut butter for athletes, and when we checked on him, he had like a 60% or something sales, like for in less than 6 months. Oops. So this project, Eco Catalyst, it was a project for career development centers, the private one, not the university, for incubators as well. We did a research-based identification of local employment and businesses opportunities to match the youth. And it was specifically for marginalized groups, specifically for women. We can see that 73% of participants were women. The success rate was 67%. The improvement skills mainly were related to communication skills, CV writing, and job searching. So many girls that I know personally, because I trained, they were really, how we say it, it was a changing opportunity for them, because some of them were shy, some of them didn't know how to write a CV or how to approach someone to talk about a job opportunity, or just to talk about herself and what she can do in terms of skills and professional career. So I chose another person that I really appreciate, because she's from a marginalized region. She has two profiles. She's a public health nurse by night, and she's an engineer student by morning. Her name is Abir. Abir did the 21st century skills with me, where I trained her in critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Then in this program called 21 Free, we had to train people, and then they train other people in those skills. So she trained 120 trainees in this 21st century skills, and she took another training TOT, another training of trainers in financial literacy, where she trained another 120 trainers. Like Abir, we trained 730 trainers around Algeria, who trained 24,544 youth around 50 states in Algeria. We can see that the trainers, 713 trainers, were mostly balanced, as 57 women and 43 male. In this project, because we had to work in 2 years with 50 states, we connected 223 partners. The participant age category was mostly for youth between 18 and 23. They were interested in both trainings, financial literacy and 21st century skills. We added Bawsala, the career mentorship, just because some people are busy, so we added the online part. So you can see that it 1,000 participants only. In terms of skills, for skills improvement, personal financial skills up to 79%, soft skills 72%, and earning skills 81%. The last project I will share with you from portfolio of Word Learning Algeria is We2. This is the last project before coming here to the US. It's still ongoing project. It's a US State of Department funded project. We did a study before about limited economic opportunities for women in green sectors, where we found that the access is limited to high growth sectors like green energy for women. The cultural barriers, lack of skills, and limited resources. Unfortunately, the need for climate actions and addressing environmental challenges. As a solution, we proposed this project, Women Empowerment, through participatory design labs. So it's a project designed to empower Algerian women through sustainable green economic initiative. We use the participatory design approach to include women, to let them collaborate to identify and solve community-specific environment challenges. So using this model, the double diamond model, where the first weekend they meet to identify problem, and the second weekend during the weekdays they do a secondary research, sorry, and the second weekend they propose solutions. Then they have 3 months to propose community action plan where they start implement the following year. So in this project, women were not just participants, they were leaders and innovators in green energy. Just to share how we measure success in any project. For this specific project, we measure the women trained in green sectors, but the male are included but up to 25%. The local awareness of green economy and women's role, reduce waste, sustainable resources use related to environmental impact, and lastly, women launching recycling, composting, eco-friendly products businesses. Just to tell you that this community action plans, 4 of them already started, they are ongoing. I didn't get the update yet to update you about their numbers, but this project will end until 26. So for word learning in Africa in general, I wanted to tell you that we work in Egypt, but it was more related to STEM and education. We did a project called LEAP, Linking Education to Employment Program, but it was a USAID project, and it was focusing on the career development centers in 3 regions in Egypt. And we had program related to TESOL and English language as well. In Malawi, actually, this project is with MSU. Michigan State University got a proposal from USAID about this program called THESE, Transforming Higher Education Systems in Malawi, where word learning will participate in the research part and evaluation data part. So if you are interested to check more about word learning and what we do, you can check the website or the 10 years report of Algeria. And for you guys, I have some documents here. We have another approach called TAP. This one is a toolkit and guide for inclusive development, where we include the stakeholder or the policymakers in all the steps or the phases of creating a project. So for me, the youth empowerment in action is really related to these 3 points. Equipment, like by doing the work in Algeria with word learning, we try to equip Algerian youth with essential skills for the job market, improving their employability in a competitive economy. The community-driven solutions, like using the model of participatory design, really enables young people to identify community challenges, and they felt themselves values, and not just participating in the solution part, but also identifying the problem and solving it as well. So this approach not only empowers youth, but also improve local economic resilience, entrepreneurial support, supporting youth-led businesses has helped many young Algerians to create job opportunities for themselves and others, contributing to economic advancement. But unfortunately, even the work we are doing, we still face high unemployment rate and high need rate. So maybe we need to collaborate our efforts between NGOs, government, local communities to achieve sustainable economic development. But for Africa as a continent, the importance of replicating and scaling successful models across the continent. As an organization, we are trying to contact and to connect with African stakeholders around the continent just to replicate our successful models and just to build this higher impact or higher impact. So I want to finish this presentation with this quote that the potential of Africa's youth is limitless. If we empower them, they will lead us to a future of prosperity. Africa's youth are not just the future, they are the engine of economic transformation. By empowering them, we are harnessing the continent's greatest resource for a prosperous, self-sustaining future. And thank you so much for your attention. Let me. It's fine.
All right. Thank you, Hadjer. Don't go too far. I'm going to have some questions for you later. All right. So thank you, Hadjer, for that presentation. So I'm just going to, 1 second. Sorry?
Can we ask our questions?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to exit this. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, I hope this is working. All right. I'm frozen. Dang. Oh, sorry. I don't know, I'm frozen.
Turn it off and on. Video, yes. And then...
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that. Where did it go? Okay, so we're just gonna proceed. I don't know what happened to my video. Okay, so I'm just gonna proceed. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Abby.
Can you see my video? Sorry, it's so loud in here.
No, your screen is blank, but we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, something happened to my video and I can't figure out what it is, but we're just gonna proceed like that for now, and then I'm gonna figure out what's happening. All right, so next we're gonna have, oh, sorry, thank you, Hadjer, for that. We're gonna have some questions for you later. So, I mean, you've mentioned the work that you're doing, in terms of education, just youth empowerment in general, but we don't have a population issue as such. It's not like China where they have an aging population and people are not just having kids, so there's nobody to do the jobs that are there, right? But then we have so they're trying to tell people, have kids, so we can have people to do these jobs. And then but the problem with Africa is we have this ballooning population, right? But then we have brain drain. So people are just leaving, so they're not even, sort of advancing their own places. So what's up with that? So we're gonna delve into what's really the problem. And we saw that problem in Kenya, especially where we had the crazy protest that made world news. So we're gonna delve into that later. But before we do, I can see Ari has joined. So Ari, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Okay. So are you gonna go next? So I'm just gonna pin you. Something happened to my video. I don't know what it is, but where is this guy? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna pin you. And I'm gonna remove that. Okay, go ahead. So Ari is gonna talk to us about the same topic, youth empowerment and economic advancement in Africa. Thank you for joining us, Ari. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi to everyone. I hope that everybody can hear me. 505. For those who are listening, I know not it's difficult to get. Do we actually have some people who are seated who are attending in person? Yeah. Want to make sure we have.
Yeah, we have a bunch of people here and we have pizza. So if you're not here, it's us.
Okay. For those online, for those who can type, if you can type, please put a word in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me 5 on 5. I want to make sure that you're able to get me. And I want to thank the entire team as well. Damaris, thank you very much for the opportunity. Abby, thank you for bringing me on to share as well. I always have a lot to share, by the way, if you're meeting me for the first time, because I come from Cameroon. Cameroonians kind of have a lot to share, which means, and the way that I would describe my experience is kind of really crude because I come from a background where I kind of figured out stuff all by myself. Okay, I can see some people saying they can hear me. I figured out stuff all by myself. And so most of the things I'm going to share, when I heard I was going to come and talk about youth empowerment and the impact on economic advancement in Africa, I was like, okay, the best I can share with you are the best of the things that I have experienced and I have done. So, can I share my screen? Please give me access to share my
Yes.
screen.
1 second.
Okay.
I just
So
need
the
to
best I can share with you guys today are going to be most of the things that I have been able to experience and how better to share that with you with some of the stories that I've been able to maybe helping some of the youths in the different contexts in which I have served or some of the things I have experienced for myself and which I practically think have been the best ways that I've been able to empower myself and empower some other people around me. So give me a second, guys. Let me make sure that I can share my screen. Let me make
Okay,
sure
yeah, you should be able to share screen now.
Okay. 5 on 5. Okay. If you see me looking to my left, just know I'm trying to look at the bigger screen. So just so that you people can understand. Can you see my screen?
Right, we can.
Yeah. So today I'm going to be talking and I'll share. How many minutes do I have, by the way? Just one more question. I'm sorry. Abby, how many minutes do I have? I want to make sure that I keep it within the time.
Oh, sorry. So you can keep it between 30 to 40 minutes, so we can have like a question answer session.
Okay.
Does that work?
Awesome. Yeah, I will. I'll try to squeeze it. I have
All
a
right.
lot of stories to share, a lot of practical examples, but I'm going to try and make sure that I share the best that I can share. So to be able to give you guys a lot of context, and I know some people are watching me on ground, to all of you, I'm saying hi, even if I cannot see you directly. I'm saying hi, and I'm still in one way or the other trying to connect with you. And to everybody who is watching me, to everybody here on Zoom. Also, I might be asking you at some point to maybe put some words in the chat so that I know that you're following. Please help me do that. So like I'm communicating right now. I'm speaking alone. The only way that I can know that you're following me 5 on 5, if I get that rapport from you, and that rapport might come in the form of me asking you to, hey, please drop a word or please drop FF, which stands for following if you're following, so that I know that you guys are following with me because I'm going to be sharing some stuff, by the way. And for those, regardless of where you are in your journey, maybe some of the things you might learn from it, some of the things you might improve, some of you might already be doing better than I'm doing, but you might see one or two things where you go, oh, that guy did something very interesting, or he said something very interesting, and I should learn from that. So for those on the chat, if you can hear me 5 on 5, please give me an FF. Let me know that you are following 5 on 5 and you can hear me, you can see my screen. To be able to give you guys a bit more context, it's only important for me to at least share with you some of my journey and some of the things that I have been up to. Please, if you can hear me, just type the word FF in the chat. For those of you on Zoom, FF, just FF. It means following. FF. Awesome. Good. Thank you. Thank you guys for doing that. Awesome. So I originally come from Cameroon. Today I'm going to be talking about youth empowerment, of course, youth empowerment and impact on economic advancement in Africa. But to talk about this, I need to give you a bit of context on how I even started by empowering myself before empowering others, and then what I built, and then how that empowerment extended to the people that I helped in different ways, and of course, how I see the impact of that in different, very informative presentation. Okay, good. Thank you, Madam Damaris. And so, in Algeria, okay. Oh, Hadjer, that's for you. I'm sorry, I don't take. I hope I don't take your praises, but I followed some of your presentation, and that was really, I really did love the last quote as well. So it's only normal for me to share with you guys a part of my story. So 6 years ago, I studied journalism and mass communication at the University of Boya. So this is me 6 years ago, back in Cameroon. At the time, I studied journalism and mass communication. I had no skills, no tech skills, nothing. I was literally just trying to find myself. And at the time, because I wanted to actually make something for myself, I was in the second year of the university and I'm asking myself, so how do I make ends meet at this point? And then I thought to myself, the only way to at least make ends meet for myself was use these skills that I was learning in the university, by the way, and start to practice these skills in the job market one way or the other. So I did something very interesting. In Cameroon, we have something called the newspaper kiosk. I'm sure everywhere has it, but it is different. The kind of places are different. I'm sure you have that in the US, in the UK, wherever you're listening to me, right? And so I went to the newspaper kiosk and I remember going that day and I said to them and I said, hello, sir, can you please allow me? I want to look into the pages of these newspapers. And inside the newspapers, inside every newspaper, whether it's in the US, wherever you are, there's something called the masthead. For those of you who are not in the journalism field, let me teach you a term. It's called the masthead, right? The masthead is a page that contains information, relevant information about the newspaper. And so I was saying to this newspaper seller, the person who was selling these newspapers, I was saying to him, can you please allow me to look inside this newspaper so that I can copy down the names of newspaper publishers? And that's exactly what I did. Still in my second year of the university, I wrote down the names of about 23 newspaper publishers that day, and I went back home and I started calling them. Hello, sir. My name is Ray. You might not know me, but I'm a big fan of your work. And by the way, I'm a student in the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in the University of Boya. I'm writing to you because I didn't see you see a couple of stories from Boya. Boya is where I lived at the time and where I studied. I didn't see you have a couple of stories from my city. And I thought I'd just write to you and say, look, if you want, I would love to offer my expertise. And I know I'm still a student, but I can write some stories for you. And so I kept cold calling some of these publishers. And at some point, I know some of them will pick and go, oh, okay, cool, Array, good that we know. If there's anything, we'll reach out. All of them will give me different responses like that. But at one point, one of them picked up and said, hey, Array, it's very interesting that you're saying this right now because we are actually looking for a writer from Boya. I'm in your city in the next 2 weeks. Can we talk? Cool. And so I wore my best shirt, went, sat down, had a meeting. And that was exactly how I started to write. So while in my second year of the university, I started to write for a newspaper. And so I was kind of going to school and already putting myself out in the job market. So I'll go to school and then when I'm not in school, I'm covering different events. And at the time I started growing to cover other big events, maybe including the governors, including other different mayors, different other political events around. And then something happened, for those of you who might be aware, a little bit of Cameroon. So we have a crisis that started in 2017. I'm not going to go deep into the crisis. This is not about politics. But when the crisis started, it affected everybody economically, right? It's a huge tumult, and it had to do with like gunshots back and forth between military and the separatists who were fighting to secede, and it caused like schools to shut down. So 2017, that was the time when I literally dropped out of school. But while you drop out of school, you still need food to eat, right? You still need to live. Is anyone following? For those in the chat, if you're following, please put an FF for me. Let me know that you guys are listening and following. So you still need food to eat, right? You still need something to do. And so I'm right there thinking, how do I do right now? And I'm sure some of you might be picking a thing or two from this, right? What do I do to at least survive myself and try to make sure I get some food for myself? An idea came to my head, Array, if you can't write for these newspapers, why not publish these stories that you were already writing for the newspapers? Why not take those stories and just publish online? I'm like, that's a light bulb moment for me because I'm like, okay, cool. So what did I do? I started a blogging platform. All right. I started blogging a news platform. And so I went online, I figured out, I started watching some YouTube videos on how to create a news website. Had no idea. That's why I said no tech skills. I had no idea, figured out stuff. And I remember one of the times I wrote a story which was still around the crisis. So I actually started writing love stories and the rest. Nobody picked enough interest. Later on, I remember one time I published a social news or something, and 1,000 people read the article. I went, geez, 1,000 people have read this. Like I just sat in my single student, like my tiny student room, and I wrote something which in the next 1 hour, 2 hours, I've got about 1,000 people reading this. That blew off my mind. I was like, so I can now mass media communicate. I can actually build my own thing. And so I remember I kept writing those stories. And that was me finding myself around news and politics. And that's exactly what I did. So within 6 months, I would literally went to a professional and I said, create me a WordPress news website. And I want to name it arabi.com because I want to go blogging, blogging, digital journalism, whatever it's called. I want to do that full time. And that's exactly how I actually raised like my own first $1,000 for myself from my student room, from my phone. So I kept writing every single day. One day I'll write stories, I'll write 2 days, write day 3, day 4, day 5. And I started doing that. Within the next 1 year, I'd literally been named among the top 5 in Cameroon. And I got a couple of people now because I was actually getting 30 to 50,000 readers every single month. I went and I formed a small team and I went, hey, I want you to go and start reaching out to businesses. So we would reach out to businesses and go, hey, my name is Array. You don't know me, but I run the news website, arrayb.com. We're getting 30 to 50,000 readers every single month. Do you want to place a banner ad on our website? Cool. And that's exactly how I started to make some small money to feed myself. Remember, we're still in crisis. The country is locked down. When I mean lockdown, I mean like one time you go out to the streets, there's gunshots. Everybody has to be in the house, sometimes for 3, 4, 5 hours, sometimes for 3 days straight. Nobody's going out. And that was the way I was surviving. That was how I was able to pay my rent. That was how I was able to do a couple of things. And in some times, extend a hand to family and to other people, right? And so over the last couple of years, I'm not going to share all of the story because I have a lot to share, by the way. The last couple of years, that has evolved. So when we started having businesses advertised on the website, that evolved into not just having businesses advertised on the website, but it branched into me building a marketing agency. So I started helping businesses to actually get clients on social media through Facebook ads, Instagram ads, building email marketing campaigns, and all of that stuff. And the last couple of years, that has evolved into different facets. So when I started running the news website, a couple of businesses will see me run the news website and they'll go, Array, I see that you're really good with the websites. Do you want to come in and train our team on how to actually grow our own website? I'll go, yes. I go and train the team. When it goes really well, and they're going to say to me, Array, I actually see there's this event coming about social media, and I thought there's no better person to speak at this event than you who has already had this experience. Do you want to come and speak at this event? Yeah, sure. I'll go and speak at the event. When it goes very well, they'll probably come and go, Array, listen, you've shared really well. Do you mind coming in-house and seeing what we're doing for our business? And you can consult us on social media, whatever it looks like. And I'll go in and consult, right? And so over the years, this has evolved into different facets. Right now, I have built a community. So on my email list, I have about 21,000 friends on emails, and I'll send out emails, which are, because I'm obsessed about sharing the journey and teaching people on the way that I grow. So what I turned that into is, I'm not saying that I'm the expert, but what I'm doing rather is sharing the journey as I grow, right? So for example, let's say I'm speaking right now at African Tea Time. I'll email my friends and go, hey, I'm speaking at African Tea Time. Do you want to actually come and watch my presentation, and maybe learn 1 or 2 things about presentation, or learn 1 or 2 things about me sharing my story? Right. And so, which might be another lesson for some of you who are here, right? For those of you some of you might be wanting to go on social media and you're going, I don't know what to share on social media. I'm not saying that you should go there and just start posing up as the expert. Go and share the journey. And I'm going to share something with you guys. There's a lot I want to share with you guys, actually, which is still, by the way, within the confines of the topic. So please follow me carefully. Over the last couple of years, that has evolved into different things, right? So I started sharing on the community. Sometimes I get a few speaking gigs like this, maybe to share my story, to share my journey. Marketing agency, me helping businesses on social media to get clients. The Smart Club, which is actually my private mentorship club for those who want to learn digital marketing within Cameroon and Africa. Sometimes we get different people from different countries, US, UK as well. But majorly, I'm focused on my people in Cameroon because that's my meat, that's my heart, right? And then a podcast which I recently started about 7 months ago, and we recently had a #1 episode in Cameroon, DRB the podcast. So that has extended into me working in different ways with youths, be it at the community, be it at the Smart Club. Exactly why I'm going to be sharing with you guys as well here some of the impacts, youth empowerment and the impact on economic advancement in Africa. So some of these things at least put me in place in the position that I'm constantly working with these youths, and I'm actually seeing some of their stories, right? And so for me to drive home some of the things I want to share with you guys after sharing my story, it's only important that I share 3 stories with you guys that is going to drive home the rest of the message, right? The rest of the messages, right? So if you're ready, for those of you who are following online, like I said, the way that you're going to tell me you're following is for you to put something in the chat. Please put a 1 for me. I'm going to share with you the very first story. So the last couple of years, I've been able to generate some thousands of dollars of sales, being able to be featured on the BBC, listed among the British Council's top 100 worldwide, and all of that, writing a best-selling book and all of that. And that's me first. right? The first thing is I have been able to use I have been able to use social media to empower myself, right? All of the things I've done, be the Oxford winning the Global Leadership Challenge at Oxford University, that was still me empowering myself. And by the way, it was because of social media. And by the way, it was me empowering myself. And by the way, the BBC called and went, hey, Ari, do you want to come in for an interview? Because the sort of stuff that I had been doing and me empowering myself and all of that. And later on, writing a book on social media. So I'm going to share with you guys, like I said. Awesome. Thank you, Madame Damaris. She too is writing. Okay. I'm going to share with you guys 3 stories that will drive home the rest of the message, right? The first is I'm going to share with you my junior sister. Oh, where's her picture? I don't know why this isn't showing. Let me change this. So let me share this with you guys. So I'm going to share with you guys the story of my junior sister. I don't know why. Okay, her picture is showing right now. And the reason I'm going to share this, by the way, is because she's one of the youths that I've been able to empower, right? So last 2 years, I think, I brought her into the Smart Club and I went, hey, I want you to learn something for yourself. Now, for those of you, some of you, this is African tea time. We're African people. Most of you know as well. Family is huge. Family is huge on us. Anyone has family? Family thing is huge on us. We have people asking us, hello, brother, hello, sister. Does anyone relate? Right? So here's what I did for myself. First off, right? Charity begins at home. So what I did for my junior sister is I went, you're no longer going to start asking me money. Let me start to empower you. How about if your brother is up there trying to do something, let me empower you. So here's what I did with my junior sister. First off, I enrolled her into graphic design classes. She, by the way, is still in still in the university. So she's studying her 3rd year right now. She's studying gender studies. So I said to her, hey, here's what you're going to do. I want you to learn graphic designs. And I paid for her to learn graphic design. So when she learned the skills, I called her up and said, what I want you to do is the way that I did it, I'm at least going to show you a blueprint on how to do this for yourself. So I said to her, go on social media and I want you to create a page. So she went to social media. I'm sharing this because some of you can actually look it up or whatever. And also the story might inspire some of you who are trying to build stuff, because as much as I'm sharing about African empowerment, it might in one way or the other be empowering you as well to at least continue building what you're building, and also know about what is being built in the African content. Does that make sense? So I said to her, hey, you're going to learn how to do this. And here's what I asked her to do. I said, go on social media, Facebook primarily, create a social media page. And she named it ANB. On ANB, here's what she did. Thank you, Mr. Leo. He said, following. Good. So on ANB, here's what she did, right? She went and created, and I said to her, you're not going to, once again, if you learn anything from this presentation, when you go on social media or when you are presenting, you're not speaking as the expert. If you're not, you're speaking as someone who's sharing the journey, which is the exact same thing I said to her. I said, go on social media, and I want you to go and make a first post and say, hey, her name is Nchong. So I say, hey, write it and say, hey, my name is Nchong, and I'm a student in the university. But on this page, I'm going to be sharing my journey, how I go from an absolute beginner to a pro in graphic designs. And I'm going to share all that journey with you guys. So she kept doing that. So day 1, she'll share, hey, my name is Nchong. This is it. Day 2, she comes back and goes, here's a test design that I've just done. For those of you who are following this page, I want you to rate my designs. Day 4, she'll come, I've just done a design for this. Do you want to rate this? Day 5, day 6. How did that go? When she started doing design, she'll do design for different artists, for different celebrities, for different people. She'll tag them and say, please rate my designs. After maybe about 3 months or something, she started getting these people reach out to her and go, hey, do you want to do a design for us? She'll go, yeah, okay, here's my fee. Hey, do you want to do a design for us? Yeah, this is my fee. And as I speak to you right now, we were actually tracking our numbers. And I think it was about 3 or 5 months ago, we realized she has actually made her first $1,000 from graphic designs, still a student in the university, from her phone with no laptop. African empowerment. I mean, youth empowerment, sorry. Youth empowerment, right? And that's how she was able to, and I remember when we were about to pay for her fees, again, because that's family. You guys know what I'm talking about. In Africa, we support family. So when she came back, when she had to go back to school the next year, we went, okay, now you're making some money for herself. She was the one waving on fire and went, hey, now that I'm making some money for myself, I don't want you guys to pay my rent again. I don't want you family to pay my rent. So I'm going to subsidize this. And that's been some really cool stuff. She's been able to support family right now. She'll ring me up and we'll talk business and talk family and talk other stuff. Guaranteed you still, reach out once in a while from the African culture and maybe give her something. But she's able to take care of herself. She's able to do other things. She's able to handle other projects. All of this, if you see, look at this, this is a graphic design she's done for herself. These are some ads I'm always running for myself as well on social media, blah, blah. All of this she designed for me. And by the way, I pay her even when she does designs for me, right? And so that's story number one, how I've been able to help someone, to empower someone to, at least in one way or the other, to do something for themselves. Now I'm going to talk about Steve. Is anyone following? Please put 2 in the chat. Anyone following? 3 people. I want you to put 2 in the chat. Let me know you guys are following. 2. I'm going to talk about Steve, right? So Steve is this guy who I met. And by the way, so I run. Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Mark. Thank you, Tinku. So I met Steve. I'm going to call him Steve because I don't want to reveal his true names. So Steve is this, I think he's 20-year-old. I forgot. He had a 20 or 21-year-old that I met. How did I meet him? I had done a podcast episode with a guy who, so for those of you who know, you guys might not, but for those of you who know this, there's an artist, there's Shakira. For those of you who know the popular artist Shakira. Shakira had done a World Cup song in 2006, and this World Cup song had been a little bit of copyright. There were some lines in it that were copyrighted from a Cameroonian artist song. And so this actually became, if you Google it, you're going to see it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal until they had to sue Shakira. And so the guy who helped the Cameroonian artist to sue Shakira, I invited him on the podcast. When I invited him on my podcast, we had a conversation. I'll call him Steve. Steve is just this regular guy who is 20-year-old who dropped out of school. He never went to the university, but has created a Facebook page. When he created a Facebook page, what he started sharing was just gist around like trending news. That's how he found my podcast. And he actually wrote a story about the podcast that I did with the guy who sued Shakira. So when he wrote that story, I saw it and I went, oh, that's interesting. Oh, who's this who's writing about me? Yes, a couple of people will pick the podcast or write about me on different stuff, and I'll go, thank you. But I caught a bit of interest in him, and I reached out to him. I went, hey, nice work, bro. I appreciate you, because the story he wrote actually went viral. I had about 20,000 likes or so. I was like, let me write to this guy and appreciate him. And I said, nice work. For those of you who know, Cameroon is not yet monetized on Facebook. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, what if I help you to get monetized? Because I have access to maybe traveling out of the country. Sometimes I'm out of the country. I will get you monetized and I'll make sure that we submit all of your tax stuff and the rest, whatever, that stuff that we do. It's an entire thing that we do backstage, which is, by the way, absolutely legal. I'm not saying it's illegal, but we help people get monetized a lot. So if somebody's in a country that is not monetized, they will grow their audience. And then when it gets to the point where they have a huge following, they will hand over that page to somebody who is in a Western country, which is some of the advantage that you guys who are listening have. Because you're in a country that everything is monetized. You can literally just crack up codes, go on social media, write things and get monetized. I'm not saying it's that easy to go viral, but that's the opportunity. These guys, some of us back then, these guys he had built his page to at least, I'd say 200,000 followers, was not still monetized. So I went, hey, I can monetize you. Let me help you. Let me hold your hand. So what I did with him was I helped him to get monetized, and then I brought him close and I started to mentor him gradually as part of the community, by the way. And within a period of 6 months, I remember I got monetized. And when he got monetized, and then I'd literally have like a call every week with him, a call every week, a call every week. By the way, for free. I was just doing this because I'd loved what he was doing. I thought this was somebody that was literally really interesting. And I saw myself in him when I started maybe needing that hand, needing that kind of help. And I brought him on, started helping him. And 5 months ago, I think 5 months ago, he finally got monetized. When he got monetized, his first money made, I think the first month was about $300 on Facebook. So when he made $300 on Facebook, little did I know, one day he picked up his phone, and the very first time he had his first paycheck from Facebook, he calls me and goes, Array, he's literally crying. He's like, I was working in a garage. I was just like a mechanic somewhere. I wasn't even getting paid. He said about 30,000 francs a month. That's, I don't know, about $60 a month or something. Less than that. That's his explanation. And he goes, I wasn't getting paid anything. I was just struggling. And then there you came, just helped me with all of this work that I've been putting in. And he got monetized. I could actually show you guys this. I'm going to show you guys an inside scoop. But by the way, you're not still going to know what's happening, because this is absolutely, and by the way, he's happy with me sharing this, right? Who's ready to see? I'm going to show you guys some of this backstage stuff, but it's not going to have his name. It's not going to have any information about it. This is his page. In the last couple of months, if you guys can see clearly, If you can see clearly, the first month he probably made about $300. This next month he made about this. The next month he made about this. And currently he's on his way to making this month. If you can see here in progress, he's on his way to making $1,074 on Facebook. And all he's simply doing is posting text and images. No videos, nothing, just current news around the world, be it of whatever is happening, whether it's around the elections, whether it's around what, as long as it's important information, he'll just copy that, pick some images and put out there, and it's growing an audience. And that's exactly how he's been able to empower himself. And one of the best days for me was the day so I didn't know that all of this time I'd been working with him. He had been telling his family, everybody knew about me. And then his senior brother called me, I think that was about 2 months ago, and went, we don't know how to thank you because my junior brother has now quit the garage. He's no longer working there. He has quit. He's now focused full-time on creating content, and you have helped change his life. You have helped done all of these things. And literally, Steve has done all of that for himself. 21 years old, probably making about $1,000 every month from Facebook, and he's seated back in Cameroon somewhere, which is at least 2 times the living conditions of, I mean, anyone who is right there. So maybe for you in the US, you might be going, but yeah, $1,000 is not anything. But like to someone in Cameroon, that's huge. And that's life-changing money because they'll pay their rents, do everything, and also be able to support family, right? And that's exactly some of the things. So a couple of them, I can't share all the stories with you guys, but we have a couple of them. Some of them are those who joined, some of them are those who in the mentorship club who were able to at least upskill themselves and at least get a job that will help them to build their skills. And I won't sit there and say that everyone who joined just had things work out for them. Some people joined, maybe it didn't go well, but here's the thing. The trainings and the way that their minds were renewed led to one thing that led to another. And most of them will credit the whole occurrences in their life to the fact that they took a step to joining the club where they could evolve in their mind and they could evolve in their economic activities and build their skills as well. So it's not like everybody who just enters just gets that breakthrough. Let me be honest. I know there are a couple of people out there who say, oh, yeah, everybody gets a breakthrough. I don't. I'm being fairly honest, and I'm sure most of the people here, I'm sure I'm on a platform where everybody understands how these things work. And so some of the people who walked in, some of them have had be it a change in mindset and the rest. And that's exactly how it has been able to evolve the last couple of years. And the last thing I'm going to share with you guys is my junior brother. And by the way, I didn't have any special, all of these people, I brought them back to the community. It's not like I had some special classes with them. So my junior brother's story was actually very interesting. When at the same time I recorded my junior, I had my junior sister learn graphic designs. I sent him to a school to learn video editing. And here's the most interesting part of the story. When I started the podcast, I decided to hire someone to do my video editing. Little did I know, and I'm being honest in this right now, anyone following? Please put 3 for me. We're now on number 3. I'm rounding up, by the way. I know I have a few minutes. Anyone following? So little did I know that the person that I had hired, so I hired this lady, I actually did interviews on Zoom like this, hired this lady to come on and edit videos for me on the podcast. Little did I know that she was pregnant. And she didn't tell me. She was about 7 months and she didn't tell me. So I hired her, trained her. And then actually on the morning where we started the podcast, she had to go and give birth. She had to put to bed. So at that point, I'm actually lacking a video editor and I literally don't know how to start afresh. But here's the twist of the story. Kid Bro had started learning graphic designs, started learning video editing. And I asked him to do the same thing, just like with my junior sister. Go on social media, create a page and start and share your story and share the journey as it's going. Number 1, you're always going to start up and go, my name is this. Here's my story. And on this page, I'm going to share how I go from 0 to at least a pro in video editing. And what he started doing was also go out and create different videos and post them on that same platform. And then different people will react to them. And then as people were seeing him post those things, they'll go, hey, it looks like you actually edit good videos. Do you want to edit this for me? Do you want to edit this for me? And that's exactly how he started to hone down his skills. Today, as I speak, the twist of the story was when this lady, the lady on my team, decided to go on a maternity leave. What happens is I look around and I have to hire another video editor. First off, the first idea was I should get him. So I called him and I went, edit a video for me and send, and he edited and sent, and I went, I don't think that's good. I'm not going to have it because I don't want to hire just because you're my junior brother. When I was asking you to upscale last year, you didn't upscale. But it happens that, so when I put the lady in charge, the lady was going on videos on her maternity leave. I asked her, I said, hey, do you want to actually do a couple of interviews? Let's see who is good. He applied. And when he applied, she actually loved his video. So I didn't bring him on first because he was my junior brother. So she actually loved the teaser video he did for us. And when he came on, I went, oh, okay. So like you're bringing my junior brother back to me too. And it happened that she loved his video and said, hey, let's build on what he has been learning. As I speak to you right now, he's on my team, editing my videos, getting paid some cash. I know, yeah, I'm not paying him the biggest money in the world, but at least I'm paying him something that's being able to help. So if I come back to talk about how all of this is helping, right? Youth empowerment and the impact on economic advancements. You see, in each of these stories, one or two things happens. Number one is that it helps. First of all, the first thing with youth empowerment is that it starts with you. Just like in the case of my story, it all started with me being able to learn things, being able to grow, being able to advance in my career, being able to learn all of these different skills. And in the course of me learning on social media, I'll be able to hone down different skills. Maybe I could do copywriting. I'll not just evolve from writing just news to how do I write copy? How do I build funnels? How do I learn email marketing? How do I do all of this, right? And today, apart from me even running the podcast, I also serve as a journalist for Intelligence CIO, which is a UK-based business, and he has about 14 different publications. So I actually correspond for them, having a full-time job, by the way, which I actually have to do alongside running the podcast and other things in the community as well. And so youth empowerment, if you look at the subtext behind all of the stories I've shared with you, the first thing it starts with the individuals having to learn skills. So if we talk about youth empowerment, whether it's for you who is listening right now, or whether it's for the scenario back in Cameroon, back in Africa, it always starts with one thing: learning the skills. Number two, it's you going out there to put out yourself and make sure that you are, at least in one way or the other, taking out the skills, right? In the case of most of the kids that I've talked, I'll not call them kids, I'm sorry. In the case of most of the people that have shared their stories with you here, they had to go out with their stories. They had to go out and go, hey, let me share this on social media. And it's on social media that I found it, right? And so if you look at, I tried to put about three things that I saw. The most common things is that on the impact on economic advancement in Africa, most of them were able to take care of themselves, which is the first basic thing. Even in my story, I was able to start taking care of myself. And I had to go, I remember, I think 10th April is my birthday. So I called my mom about 7 years ago and went, I no longer want to receive allowance. And from that day to today, never done. Instead, I would send them allowance because I wanted to do it and take myself off it. And it's been able to create jobs, right, for others. One way or the other, the activities that I do has helped create jobs for other people, whether it's part-time jobs, whether it's full-time jobs in different capacities, and also bring people onto my team. It's been able to help them to match up to the rest of the world and compete in the job market, just like myself. So I studied journalism and mass communication. And by the way, let me put this out there. In 2019, I went back and I graduated. So it's not just a school dropout who's talking. I went back and I had my degree. But here's the twist of the story. By the time I was graduating, I remember going back to my school and I asked my professors if they could send some students to come and intern in my media organization. And they said yes. So 2019, by the time I was graduating, I had already built a media company where most of my schoolmates could still come and intern, and I was still signing their internship forms and going, yeah, this is array, oh, okay, whatever. But that was really cool, and it was a light bulb moment for me. So although I was still studying journalism and mass communication, I'd practiced to the level where I'd probably got some recognitions. I'd already been out there, actually had about 3 or 4 years of actual practice by the time I was graduating and being able to sign some of my students, some of my friends' internship forms and the rest. And so also, it helps to match up to the rest of the world and compete in the job market, just like in my case. Right now, I'm no longer working specifically in Cameroon. My journalism is even across because at the last couple of years, I've probably done hundreds of interviews. I've probably done hundreds of podcasts through my media, podcast episodes through my media, speaking to different entrepreneurs, to scholars, to different kinds of people. And then for the platforms I work with, I've been able to practice that journalism. So it helps me. And I'm matching up to the rest of the world, not just from Africa, but at least if you list what I do and I go, I know that there are times I'll stand, I'll go, yeah, I know what I'm doing as well, because I could match up to the rest of the world and able to support their families, which to me is one of the core things. I don't know about some of you guys, but I'm sure some of you will testify. For us in Africa, being able to support family is a core thing for us, right? We want to be able to, the mantra is grow yourself, make some money, support family, give back. It's like that's the journey, right? Build a family, give back, whatever it looks like for you. and being able to support families. And then in most cases, the common thing I realize is that when we go off our parents' back, like when we are no longer asking them, the parents are able to at least focus on taking care of themselves, either from the money that they should have been using to take care for us, or from the things that we now give to them, and that helps to build them. So generally, these have been some of the impacts. And like I shared with you guys at the beginning of this, the most I can share with you has been some from the experiences of the things I've done. These are some of the, these are like half of some of the stuffs. But I thought this was so cool. And we actually say this, the impact of economic advancement in Africa. So when we do that, when we start, so it always start to empower, it will always start by us empowering ourselves. When we empower ourselves, it starts by you now getting those skills and then using those, using social media, which I believe, not everybody will believe that, but social media is a very good way to communicate and to at least sell those skills. And then you start to build a foundation for yourself, which is solid. And then now you can extend to others. And also for me, as part of the community, I'm writing an email. I used to do that once every week. I've slowed down a little, but the emails have been some of the best moments for me. I remember one time I sent out an email, which, by the way, like I shared, was about me learning something on the journey. And when I sent out the email, very cool story, you guys. So when I sent out the email, I remember this guy, so I'll still call him Steve because I don't know call his name. Steve wrote to me and went, Array, you're just sending out this email at the time when I was thinking of going to commit suicide. Which, by the way, is funny that somebody who's about to commit suicide is reading their emails. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing checking your emails? I mean, that's a joke. We always laugh with him and go, bro, if you were thinking of committing, why are you doing checking your emails? But it's funny, right? But the reality is he read out the emails, and when he responded back to me, I was like, I was so scared that day. I remember, and I wrote to him, I was like, hey, here's my WhatsApp contact. Please contact me, let's talk. And then when he did, I quickly linked him up to a therapist and he had to get help. But today he's actually fine. He's living with his kid, a single father living with his kid and still picking the crumbs of his life as well. And he's doing well, he has picked past the crumbs and he's doing well with his life. And so at least these are some of the cool stories that I could say that the impact of the economic advancement in Africa. So for me, the whole concept, if you look at what I've shared, is because first off, I have kind of a crude journey from myself. But if you look at the subtext behind what I'm saying is that when we talk about economic impact in Cameroon or in Africa or wherever we want it to advance, I strongly believe it has to start with the person. When it starts with the person, it continues with you leveling up. It continues with you building your skills. And then there's the place of, the self-awareness and the rest of the things. But I think that starts with the person. And then from there, you can start to help families. You can start to employ other people. And then you can say, I think that that's the best structure for us to build or for us to empower Africa. From you help yourself, you become solid, and then now you can send a rope and pull out the other people who are in the sea. But you can't just start by sending the rope when you don't have a solid foundation. And that is the kind of approach I take in my work, and that's the kind of approach that I take generally. Abby, I'm sure I've made 30 minutes already, so I'm going to end here. But I really do appreciate you guys for listening, and I want to thank everybody for those of you who are in person listening to me, and for those of you who are listening online, I appreciate you for all of your time and the energy as well, and for keeping up with me, asking you to write in the chat every time. If you're following, please put an FF. I know I'm ending. Thank you, guys. Abby, I do appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ari. I'm sorry, my video is still acting up. I cannot figure out why it's not working. Oh my gosh. Sorry, just give me a couple of seconds. All right. I don't know why my video just stopped working, which is very weird, but
I was going to say that you should consider restarting the laptop, but that might take you out of the meeting.
Yeah, that will kick me out of the meeting, and I'm also recording. So it's gonna mess everything up. So we're gonna have to do it this way for today. I am so sorry. But Ari, just stick there. We're gonna have a few questions. Thank you for your presentation. And especially for emphasizing, the role that you have in sort of advancing the people around you, your younger brother, your younger sister. And yeah, maybe I should apply to become your younger sister too. Maybe you hold the key to my success and I just don't know about that. All right. Anyway, that's just on a light note. All right. So earlier we were talking about brain drain, right? And Dr. Kalumbu just joined us in person. we were talking about brain drain. So we have, I'm at Michigan State University. I'm an international student from Kenya. And of course, I meet a lot of students from Africa, these very different countries. And when we get into discussions about our postgrad plans, there's nobody talking about or even thinking about leaving. People are like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get my H-1B, and then I'm going to get a green card. Nobody's planning to say, nobody says, I'm going to go back and advance, where I came from, although that is what people are saying during the visa interview, right? And so why is that the case right now, especially in Africa? People are just leaving. And even when you look at our countries, like in Kenya, we had like this crazy protests, the youth stormed the parliament, it was sort of framed as this Gen Z protest. So it is just the young people who are protesting because the things are just so bad, right? And then you see that the kind of solutions that the president comes up with is, we're going to export labor to say Saudi Arabia for people to go work as house helps. So how is that solving the issue? How is that empowering the youth, right? And so my question is, how do we deal with this brain drain issue? Because even me, like most people, I'm not planning on going back home, right? So how do we solve this issue of brain drain in Africa? Because I think that is one of the biggest things that is stifling the economic growth in Kenya, not just in Kenya, in Africa, sorry. So how do we deal with that? Ari, you can take that up, and maybe Hadjer will take that up too.
I can go first though.
Yep, go for it.
So first things first, the thing I want to say is that from my experience, I think that a lot of times when we talk about brain drain, we always think about brain drain to be somebody leaving Africa and then moving to the rest of the world and not going back. Whereas if I am staying in the UK and I'm still actively participating in building my home, that part of a diaspora is still needed to build Africa. So I feel like sometimes we are very much emphasizing on, okay, because you've left home is like you cannot, that's brain drain and the rest. Like, no, that part is needed, right? The fact that I was able to at least go out, and to be honest, this is weird to say, but sometimes when you step out, you get that experience, you go back, you get more respect, and the people listen to you more. So first off, I would say that we have to also understand in the entire conversation of brain drain, also understand that the people who move out are not totally being drained as long as you are contributing back to your country. The second thing I would say is just building patriotism in the hearts of people. When I was growing up, most of the things I always wanted to do had to do with building people around me. And for me, that has evolved into different facets, right? Even though I've traveled out of the country, I've done different things. Even if I have to stay out, even if I have to be out for 1, 2, 3 years, I'm always thinking about how to build something. And I think that that's the way. And the way to install patriotism is you build them from small, from the school. You're teaching them about how to get into the system. You're teaching them about how to be patriotic in the sense of how they can be of support to everyone. It's not about going out there and just having a life for yourself. So that's what I would say, that the way to deal with brain drain is teaching African youths to be more patriotic and asking them to, in one way, whatever they do, find a way to incorporate helping Africa into your purpose or into your plan. So that's what I would say. Although I have a job, yes, I work in the UK, but I should have just worked in the UK and forgot about everything. But yes, when I work in the UK, I still have to run my projects by home, and one way or the other, that's helping to elevate and also creating the bridge. So that's what I would say to you. I know from a scholar perspective, maybe Hadjer might have something totally different to say.
Hadjer, what do you have to say?
So growing up in a city in the northeast of Algeria, very marginalized. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, it's not picking up your voice as much. Sorry. Sorry, the video is just something else. Yeah. Yeah, the video is not working anyway.
Okay. Can you hear me, guys? I think yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ari. So, like I said, I grew up in a city, very marginalized city in the northeast of Algeria, where the craziest thing that girls can do is play in sport. So, but after not my university studies, I had to move to the capital to get a higher education because the opportunities are there. So when I was there, I discovered a new word there. The opportunities are so many opportunities. Even the youth are chosen between these opportunities. I didn't have this choice. Like I said, like the craziest thing, I played 2 sports, so basketball and swimming. But what I did, I learned how, like, I learned so many things during the 5 years of architecture there. And I promised myself that I will take every and each opportunity back to my home and let the youth benefit from my city, the opportunities that they cannot have from the capital. So I started by just training, facilitating some workshops in basic skills, communication, leadership, critical thinking, very basic soft skills, just to show the youth of my city that there is opportunity outside of this like geographical limitation. And then when I was in a higher level of empowerment, like Ari said, self-empowerment, the opportunities in Algeria were not enough anymore for me. So I had to travel. And all of these are expenses, like personal expenses that my mom had to fund and to like for us, you know, for African women, we keep dependent financially to our parents and to our families. So for them, just after years of training and after years of after graduation, actually, it was surprising for them to ask for financial independency. And I can understand Ari's sister asking for, I don't need your money anymore. It's weird and it's kind of rebellious in African countries, specifically for women. So like I was talking about opportunities outside of Algeria, like the US, Europe, for us is close, not easy, but close. So we go to Europe, we go to the Gulf countries, Middle East countries, because the opportunities are better there. And what I did is always try to take these opportunities and go back to my city and implement these opportunities. Then I faced the governmental or the legal obstacle. Me working alone, it was not enough. I was not covered legally. I needed an organization. I needed a legal cover. So I had to found a nonprofit just to keep the opportunities coming. I gained so many international funds just to implement some small initiatives, but really impactful in my city. So I think the issue here, Abigail, is first responsibility, because the youth has to feel themselves included and responsible. If, for example, for my story, I felt that responsibility. I need to go back to my home to take care of the youth in my community. I'm sure Ari has the same feeling of responsibility. That's why he's empowering his surrounding. And we have a problem of trust with our government. We don't trust them. But ironically, we trust international fund. So how it works? Do we trust the countries or the governmental institutions that are trying? Not, it doesn't mean they are not trying. They are trying, maybe wrong ways, but they are trying to do some development work. But for the youth, like, let's take the American dream. Everybody believes the American dream. Everybody wants to go to UK, to Europe, France, Italy, Spain, Sweden, just because they are advertised better than us. And because they have opportunities, inclusive opportunities for everyone. And as African young people, we like that. We want to go there and learn. And maybe we have residency, and maybe we can marry someone there, and maybe we can have kids, and maybe, yes. See? So the goal is different. And we need to just like turn the needle from that goal to another goal, which is responsibility and value for this youth.
Interesting. All right, Ari, you mentioned something very interesting, about this sort of communal responsibility that you sort of have. So once you've sort of advanced yourself to a certain extent, help the people around you. So there's that sort of very communal sort of aspect to it. And once you go to, a different country, especially, like in the US, you find that kids move out of their parents' houses when they are 16, 17, or something like that. But you see, in most African countries, because of this communal thing, you find kids who are 30 years old living with their parents. So do you think, it's a good thing. I believe in community taking care of each other, right? So do you think that to some extent where, like here, kids are sort of forced to grow up to empower themselves? If you don't empower yourselves, you're going to be homeless. You can go home. So, so my question is, if I was to just rephrase it, do you think that African kids are sort of babied a lot more than most kids in these European countries? And Dr. Kalumbu, I also want to hear what you have to say. And I don't know if Dr. Zulu is on the meeting. He's here. Dr. Zulu, if you can hear me, and if you'd like to contribute, I also want to hear what you have to say. So do you think Africans are sort of babied until they're just too baby to a point where they don't empower themselves. They don't realize that this is something I have to do. Yeah, you can come. Ari, you can go first, and then we're going to have Dr. Kalumbu. He's in person.
Okay. Now, I'm very young for me to answer about this because my parents are. But what I would say from a young man perspective who is working with a lot of youths, I would say that I'm not going to blame it. I'm not going to say that the responsibility is totally that of the parents, but I would say that it has to, parenting can help in one way or the other, regardless of how long a child stays in the house. If from a very tender age, you're being taught the really basic things. For example, I'll give you an example. And I'm being honest right now. My mom did not teach me how to manage money. I had to grow up and go, look, I have to start making a budget for myself. I have to sit down and go at the end of the month, let me see how much comes in, how much has to be spent, how much do I try to save? If I start building my family, I have to figure out all of this stuff. And these are conversations that we don't have at home because I don't know, for some reason, maybe our parents are more interested in spiritual lives more than the social lives and the real life skills. But what I'm trying to say in essence is that even if a child spends 30 years with you, if you start to impart these skills into them at the age when they arrive to understand, by the time they grow, you're going to realize that the effect is the same. So whether it is in the Western world where the kids have to leave the house by 17, by 18, or whether it is in Africa where you have to leave the house by 30, there are some certain guarantees that leaving the house, I promise you, leaving the house at an early age has a way that it molds your brain and molds you up for the challenges of life. And I'm not trying to take that away, but I mean that if in parenting, a lot of things are made more practical, and the parenting becomes more conscious towards preparing these children for real life, including, for example, when my child is 18, I want to teach you how to start a business. I want to teach you how to go out there, speak to someone and get a sale. I want to teach you, for me, this is personal, I have about 3 skills I want my children to learn by all means. A skill in sports, whether it's football, whatever thing you're doing. A skill in business, whether it's sales, whether it's public speaking, whatever, copywriting, content creation, whatever. And then a skill in sport in music. What is listening to music, what is playing music. From myself right now, I think I play three instruments. I play drums, I play the bass guitar. And by the way, I'm always serving in my church. I'm always playing. I play the piano as well. But I think that if parenting could be this conscious, regardless of the time where children leave the house, there is some grooming, there is some growing that they have done, which makes them prepared for the world, prepared for the actual world and what is going to happen. I'm going to allow the parents talk more, but that's what I see from the youth that we work with. Because a couple of times you have youth who come on and you're trying to teach them basic skills on just having conversations, basic things. Whereas if all of this had been molded from home, you see that they're onto a good footing already, and you're just adding on what has already been built. But again, parents will always talk from parents' perspective. So let me shut up now.
Okay, let's hear what Dr. Kalumbu has to say. Dr. Zulu, so you can go after Dr. Kalumbu. So Dr. Kalumbu, what do you think about sort of these throwing kids into the fire and then let them figure it out?
Well, well, there are different contexts. Okay, the African context, economically and socially, is different from the American context. Here in America, a kid can start working at age 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen on the African continent.
Why not?
They go to university. They are working while earning the degree. That doesn't happen in Africa. What I'm getting at is that the economic environment in America is conducive to early earning. Kids can earn much earlier here than they can do back home. Back home, what stops that from happening is simply the economic base. Your parents are hardly managing to find a job, let alone, let alone the children, right? The economies at home are such that there's no notion of part-time work. You know, whoever is employed is fully time there. Every restaurant, the waiter to the cook to the manager, everybody's full-time there. Here in the United States, most of those establishments depend on student labor. So, do parents in Africa have to send their kids out at 18? No, they don't have to do that, and they shouldn't do that, because if they do that, they're throwing their kids into the street. There's nothing out there.
Because they are not trained.
There's no economic base for it. And for that reason, they make the conscious and correct decision to keep the kids at home. However, that does not mean that these kids who are at home or who are 14 to 18 or to 20 to 22, which is, high school and university going, shouldn't be learning basic skills about financial responsibility and financial training. Now, let's also be aware that the whole issue of financial knowledge is, or the lack thereof, is not an African problem alone. Even in Europe, even in the United States, everybody doesn't know anything about money. Nobody's training nobody about money. Yeah, exactly, including the rich people. It's only a select few people whose parents have the sense, or not the sense, all parents have sense. I mean that who have the knowledge to do it, who see how critical it is and begin to infuse it in the children. For instance, how many people know that if you invest money from the age of, in America, that is, if you started investing something like $200 or $400 at the age of 24 in the United States, and you did it consistently, by the time you're 35, you're a millionaire. If you put $200-300 a month, that's all you gotta do. By the time you're in your mid-30s, you're a millionaire. I wish somebody told me that when I came to America. Yeah. I came to America when I was 25, and I would be a multi-millionaire today. I would have just worked and worked until I put that money every month away. That kind of information is not taught, and it's not just us Africans who are not taught that. American kids don't know that either. So I just want us to be not too harsh on ourselves on some of these things. We talked a little bit earlier on about this notion of brain drain. And I think you're right, Ari, about your analysis concerning the idea that when somebody leaves and goes to another country, that country has not lost completely, even in the current condition and situation. Let us not underestimate the remittances that are sent out to family, okay? They're keeping a lot of African economies and other economies across the world functioning because that money is going there. Well, is that enough? Maybe that's not enough, which comes to your point, Hadjer. It may not be enough just to be sending money. We are not saying it's nothing. It is doing great work and sustaining families and developing our countries, to be honest. However, the problem with brain drain is that there is an invisible yet humongous opportunity that both communities in Africa, including government and business and educational institutions, and those of us that are out here, have failed to grapple with and to understand what the potential is. We amongst ourselves don't realize how much potential we have in influencing things back home. We have, look here, brain drain is a real thing. So we can't run away from the fact that that brain, those skills, that intelligence has left. It's not being applied to everyday problems on the continent. That's just a fact. The money is going there good, but it's not the brains. The brains are out here solving American problems or European problems or wherever else. The question is, how are we harnessing not just the individual brain, but the collective knowledge and skills that we have amongst ourselves for Africa? How are we doing that? You know, and on that, I am blaming all of us and our governments and our economic systems, because they have not recognized that value. What it boils down to is some kind of organizing and planning. There has to be a way in which we are talking to one another about your skills, my skills, her skills. How do we create pockets of knowledge? How do we create a group of engineers who are going to look at a particular region in the Cameroon and say, here is a problem that we could solve really quickly, given our knowledge and our resources. And all engineers who are from Cameroon come together and talk and chip in an idea, including some funding. And before you know it, something is being done. Also, the issue of sustainability. How do we ensure that the things we have been able to do can be done by people locally on the ground? Can we work with a university in the Cameroon to empower the engineering department? And that's being done by us African engineers from the Cameroon, to empower the engineering department to have the kinds of equipment they need, the kind of teachers they need to sustain, to create a cohort of engineers that is development-minded and that is capable and that will do great things. I'm just giving that as one example that can be replicated in all areas of academic and work, vocational training and knowledge. The long and the short of it is we need to, I think I heard somebody saying we need a change, a shift in the way we are thinking, right? That shift has to be about coming together, creating pathways to contribute directly to specific things, and that can be scaled across the areas of economic activity. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Zulu.
Alumbu.
Oh, Dr. Kalumbu, sorry. Sorry, you're both here, so you're confusing me. All right. Dr. Zulu, are you able to speak? We would like to hear what you have to say, if you can hear me. All right, go for it.
Okay, is my audio on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I think after Isaac spoke, and I don't have anything to add.
That can be sort of.
No, and then I think, yeah, you know, there are changes about concepts of brain drain, and I think brain circulation is the more important phrase to think about when you're talking about brain drain. Then I admit, and then, like, you know, in some ways, I think that I think I was able to do more to help Malawi. And in the things that I like to do, being here, then I probably would have been being there. It's just how you engage, you know. Geography is just, you know, geography is just where you live now. You know, there's money, people, and everything is more by knowledge and all that. And the countries that are doing well, in Africa, they recognize the value of the diaspora and they harness it rather than demonize or blame or you left and so what. But how do you harness it? So you ask a different question now. Why are you, rather than asking why are you out there in the US instead of here in Malawi or wherever? The question is they ask, okay, now that you are over there, now how can you use what you have, whatever skill to back here and to develop your own country? So, and I know also that, with my family, the extended family, I know that there is something that's lost. Well, for example, for me, I'm always sending money for people to go to school, money for events, funerals, and weddings. But what I can't offer to them is, the emotional presence of being there when there's a funeral, when you need community and family. I can send money, but I'm also not there when you have to respond to everyday things that happen. And so even when I send money, actually in the end, my brother who's there then has to run around. There's a lot more he has to do. But I think then that our roles then are a little more complementary if you start thinking about that. And then in terms of kids, are African kids coddled and spoiled? I don't I don't know. I think Isaac explained it a little bit better in different contexts. But if you look, just thinking about urban kids, but if you think about rural areas, by the time somebody is 18 in Malawi, in a lot of Africa states, 18 and 20, a young man has built their own house, from scratch. They can, some of them are even gotten married. They do independent farming and all that. So if you make a distinction between urban and rural areas, and then for urban areas, in the way we bring up our kids, and that I think Isaac explained that very well, and I don't want to go back to that. But then the challenges comes when we have our kids that were either raised there in the US and then they were born in Africa, and then they are here, and then there's a challenge for them to adjust here and to feel they belong here, but when they feel they don't really belong back where you come from, so there are challenges associated with that, but then it's unrealistic when they also expect that even when they are here in the US, then you have to pay all their tuition from full, and they're not going to go and get a job like their US colleagues do. So they have to adjust as well. But throwing them out here, I mean, it will be culturally unacceptable. But if they are grown up here, these kids tell us, in your own, I know you had to do this when you grew up, and we're growing up here, so then they'll have to adjust as well. So sometimes we don't want to, so the kids, we don't want them to kind of exploit the situation and say, okay, we are not in Africa, when you try to help them with culture. But then when you say, okay, you are here, then your friends are getting jobs. Why don't you get a job? Why should I pay your full tuition? Do you want to go get a loan for school? And they'll say, oh, no, but you don't pay for that. So then it's adjusting and depending on where you are. So then that's all I'm going to say for now. I think, but these are important issues, and there are things that we can do for us. I'm a parent as well, and being in the US, I think we can do more to prepare our kids better to give more back home and to engage more back home. And teaching them your language is one of those things, a regret that I have, in that I focus on trying to integrate the kids here while they're here and forgetting those things. And now they blame me for, you didn't teach us our own language, for the little things that happen. I will stop here. I don't want to take all the time, but I enjoyed this session. And thanks a lot for the work you are doing and the local leadership you're doing. And, you decided to use the skills that you have, make lemonade from lemons. And now you're making lots of other things. So I really enjoyed this session. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sulu. Yeah, so all I can say is the parents have spoken.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so thank you, Ari. Thank you, Hadjer, for conducting this session, Youth Empowerment and Economic Advancement in Africa. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for your input. This was actually the longest session we've had this semester. So very, very interesting discussion to have. All right, so that brings us to the end of African Tea Time this semester. So we will see you guys next semester. Thank you for joining us. The video will be up on our YouTube channels. But from me and from the African Studies Center, thank you for joining me. This was my first time running African Tea Time, so it was really interesting, a very interesting experience. And as I said, I will see you guys next semester. All right. Thank you.